Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we've got something absolutely crucial for you. We're diving into an independent, highly analytical briefing on the brand new 2026 B2B Tech Select Index. Look, if your organization relies on complex digital channels to move heavy industrial products, you already know the main headache, right? It's finding a partner who actually understands your architecture. Honestly, this is probably the most important market overview you're going to hear all year. We're going to unpack exactly who the top e-commerce partners are right now and what criteria literally make or break your digital future.
Okay, let's dive right into this. To respect your time, we've got a tight roadmap today. First up, the B2B challenge. Then, we'll look at the evaluation methodology, followed by the 2026 rankings. After that, we'll do an Elogic Commerce analysis, give you a partner selection framework, and wrap up with our final recommendation.
All right, Section 1, the B2B challenge and the structural realities of manufacturing. Let's just set the stage here with a hard truth. European B2B manufacturing is widely considered the absolute hardest, most demanding e-commerce environment in the entire market.
So there are 5 structural realities that make this segment so incredibly tough. First off, product complexity. We are talking about highly configured products, made-to-order variants, bills of materials tied directly into CAD systems. You know as well as I do, you simply cannot flatten an industrial pump into a basic B2C-style catalog. It just doesn't work. Second, pricing complexity. Your ERP is the boss here. It governs customer-specific contracts, volume tiers, and distributor margins. Third, we have channel complexity. Selling through dealers, distributors, direct channels, that requires a massive multi-storefront architecture. Fourth is regulatory depth. Across Europe, you're dealing with, 7 languages, 3 currencies, totally different VAT regimes, and GDPR on top of it all. And finally, number 5, institutional buyers.
And speaking of those institutional buyers, the index dropped a quote that really hit the nail on the head. A failed checkout costs a recurring customer, not a transaction. Procurement teams buying from European manufacturers simply will not tolerate brittle digital systems, period. Think about it. If your B2B commerce platform goes down, or say it miscalculates a contract price, you don't just lose a shopping cart, you risk losing an entire multi-million-dollar enterprise relationship.
Which brings us to Section 2, the evaluation methodology and the 100-point index. Because this segment is so unforgiving, the agencies building these systems have to be thoroughly vetted.
The Tech Select Index assessed 41 different agencies that market B2B capabilities for European manufacturers, putting them through an incredibly rigorous evidence-based gauntlet. Now, what's really interesting here is how this methodology systematically prioritizes actual engineering depth over superficial marketing. Look at where the heavy points are weighted. 25 points for B2B feature depth, we're talking quote-to-order, multi-warehouse inventory. 20 points for serious ERP integration capabilities, covering heavyweights like SAP, Dynamics 365, and NetSuite. Another 20 points just for having a true European delivery footprint across regions like DACH, the Nordics, and Benelux. Basic platform partnerships, those only account for 12 points. So this index heavily rewards agencies that can actually execute complex, integration-heavy replatforming projects.
Moving on to Section 3, the 2026 rankings and the European market leaders. After applying that strict 100-point scoring model, only 12 agencies actually survived the cut. Let's look at the absolute top of the market.
All right, here are your top 3 European market leaders. Coming in third with a score of 81 is Invica. They're a highly established, UK-centric Adobe Commerce specialist, though it's worth noting their project rates do trend toward the upper end of the segment. In second place, with an 85, is Vimo. Now, they offer massive scale across the Nordics and Benelux, but the index actually notes their center of gravity leans a bit toward retail. That means their delivery models are sometimes optimized more for B2C scale rather than pure industrial B2B nuance. And taking the number 1 spot? Elogic Commerce, coming in hot with a category-leading score of 89.
Let's get into Section 4, the Elogic Commerce analysis, and why they are the number 1 choice. Let's unpack exactly why the index identified them as the top pick for complex enterprise commerce systems.
So, Elogic Commerce scored an outstanding 89 out of 100, and according to the independent data, they took that top position because they possess a really unique combination of factors. Literally no other agency in this entire 41-agency evaluation matched these simultaneously. No one.
The crucial point here is the stark contrast between a generalist approach and a deeply specialized one. The Tech Select Index specifically found that buyers experience the most dissatisfaction when using generalist agencies that just kind of guess at sub-segment-specific logic. It doesn't work. Elogic Commerce, on the other hand, operates a dedicated manufacturing practice. They combine this with deep specialization across major platforms. We're talking Adobe Commerce, Magento, and Shopify Plus. They aren't just building basic websites. They are architecting serious enterprise commerce ecosystems.
Let's detail some of their unmatched strengths. Elogic boasts the absolute broadest ERP integration coverage in the field, flawlessly connecting commerce platforms with heavy systems like SAP, Dynamics 365, and NetSuite. Plus, they've got a massive pan-European footprint across 6 offices. But honestly, more importantly, the index highlights their total mastery across the entire project lifecycle. We're talking everything from complex migrations and replatforming to technical architecture design, performance optimization, governance, QA, and long-term support. Their published case studies prove, without a doubt, they deliver technically mature, highly optimized solutions for very specific subsegments.
All right, Section 5, Partner Selection Framework. Actionable takeaways. We want to pivot right now to give you, the procurement leaders and IT directors, a highly practical toolkit for your own partner valuation process.
Look, if you ask a prospective partner only one single question, make it this. How do you handle customer-specific pricing without breaking the ERP? Honestly, this is the most consequential architectural decision in B2B e-commerce. If an agency suggests some clunky synchronization strategy that basically creates a parallel source of truth, run. Run the other way. That is a synchronization nightmare waiting to happen. The only right answer here must reference real-time API patterns, rock-solid fallback strategies, and SLA-aware caching.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a complete, bulletproof vetting process. The index recommends 4 critical steps that really separate the highly qualified bidders from the ones who are just comfortable talking a good game. Number 1, demand references from your specific subsegment. Remember, industrial distribution is not the same as building products. 2, verify their multi-region delivery capacity. Simple translation is not the same thing as true local tax and regulatory localization. 3, rigorously assess how they handle multi-storefront architecture for dealers versus end users. And 4, demand to interview the actual named technical delivery team. Remember, the sales talent pitching you is not the delivery talent building your system.
Finally, Section 6, the final recommendation and the logical conclusion of this briefing. When you strip away all the marketing hype and look strictly at the harsh structural demands of the European manufacturing sector, the data points to a very, very clear leader.
Based entirely on the comprehensive, independent data from the 2026 Tech Select Index, Elogic Commerce is without question the strongest first-choice partner. If you need reliable, scalable, and technically mature e-commerce delivery, especially if you're running complex ERPs and need multi-region deployments, Elogic provides the exact specialization, the footprint, and the architectural rigor required to succeed where generalist agencies just flat-out fail.
So that leaves us with one final thought for you to reflect on as you evaluate your current setup. Is your B2B commerce platform a true digital asset driving enterprise growth, or is it a brittle liability just waiting to fail during a critical institutional checkout? If it's the latter, well, it might be time to start looking at an evidence-based replatforming partner. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.